This week we have a wonderful treat, another one.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a few.
We've been so lucky.
I know, and they keep going. And that's what we've got. We got a great interview. It's going to cover a lot of things, not just the movie related to this individual, but also pretty good talk about self-doubt.
Yeah.
Overcoming it. A lot of good tips on, shit happens. You got to roll with it.
Absolutely.
Even like at the end when you're looking at something going, oh, no, got to change it, Yeah.
I mean, really just getting to do what you want to do.
Yeah. And the big thing, doing it.
Yeah.
Just doing it. So I think we should just roll into this and let the magic happen.
Well, okie dokie then. Let's do it.
All right.
Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. I'm Danny.
I'm Jim.
And today we have an awesome guest with us.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Barney Burman.
Yes. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Wild Boar and many more things. Because there's a long list of inquiries. Hello, Barney.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good. Let's jump right into it. Because the biggest question that I had was, so you've had a very successful career as a makeup effects artist.
I've done okay.
Well, I hope we can do that okay.
I think anybody can, but we'll come back to that.
The big question was, what was your compelling move to step out of that path and take on filmmaking?
Excellent question. And sometimes I feel like I know that answer, and sometimes I just don't.
That's fair.
I've always been a cynist, and had a hard time keeping my ideas to myself. And I think a lot of, there's some great collaborative directors out there and producers, and then there's a lot of people that don't want to hear it from you. But I have a hard time not voicing my ideas. And so sometimes it's a struggle. So I thought, for a long time, I just thought, why don't I try it? Why don't I, sort of put my ideas where my mouth is? And I don't know, I was just really hesitant to believe that I could. And until I finally couldn't not do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's the clearest way I can phrase it.
Well, I like it. And it's we always ask this question for people who've made a jump from one avenue to, as I've put it many times, taking on the migraines and all of the ridiculous headaches and pains of being in charge of a production, particularly if they've been on the other end of it and, just acting or, directing, but not directing, producing lightly into it. The one thing that I think I read was you had this idea for Wild Boar, and it was you were thinking of it in terms of like Planet of the Apes.
Well, a friend of mine, Andy Jones, actually came to me. We were going to make a werewolf movie, and I was going to write it, and he's going to direct it, and it was an idea I had, which I still would love to do that sometime. But so I wrote this thing. He was going to direct it, and we had a guy who was coming on to produce, and then that guy ended up being really flaky and not really coming through. And, life went on, and we both got other projects we started. And I started working on Grimm as a makeup effects artist. And it just kind of went away. And then he came to me one time and he said he was thinking about an idea about like a Planet of the Apes, but with pigs. And the idea just really sunk into me. I thought, wow, that's really good. So I wrote a draft, and it was just not doable. We wanted to do something that was like, $100,000 budget or less, and see what we could do for as little as possible. And it's like, no, well, the script that I had originally done had like, a butcher pig and a hunter pig, and the butcher pig was married and they had a kid, and it was just all this very kind of social commentary, and they were speaking, English the way they do in Planet of the Apes. And
right.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to create sort of a social commentary that humans stumble into. Very much Planet of the Apes. And then I turned that draft in, and we read it and thought, oh, this is not doable. And his idea was like, a pig man chasing kids through the forest or something. I think that's not Planet of the Apes at all. That's just sort of supplanting pig man or like Jason or something. I didn't want to make just a straight out chasing people down and kill them kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was like 2012, and then a couple of years later, I kept thinking about it, and I called Andy and said, "Hey, I'm gonna rewrite this script again, but if I rewrite it, I'm gonna direct it." And he agreed to that, and he went off to do something else. So I rewrote it with something closer to what he had initially thought about, just pig man chasing kids through the desert or the forest or whatever. Ended up being the desert, but I also didn't want to make something very just standard, picking people off, one at a time as the story kind of unfolded until we finally get to the final girl, and it was all just too standard, too cliche. I wanted something different. I wanted to stand out in some different way. So that's the basic evolution of it. And then I decided to do a fundraiser thing for it. And I did. I put it on Indiegogo, and I raised just enough money to pay for the Indiegogo campaign.
Nice.
Okay.
Like the money I got for it was really paltry, and I didn't sell it well. I don't know. I guess I don't know how to do a fundraising campaign, but it reimbursed me for the money I put out to do the campaign.
Okay.
Which was, a few $1,000.
Right.
And then I had some producers on board, and they suddenly wanted to get paid, and and then I don't know, just some things happened. I thought, I got to make a big change. So I called up my friend Gregory, Gregory McKenzie, who is a producer and director. I had worked with on a film called Camille. It starred James Franco and Sienna Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he wasn't busy. I said, look, I don't have much anything to pay you, but do you want to come down and help me make this movie? And he came down from where he lives in Canada and helped me get it done.
Nice.
I'm probably skipping some steps.
Well, yeah, that's fine. So one question, you said, okay, you didn't want to make this standard, bad guy picking kids off until it's one-on-one kind of thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I liked about the ending of Wild Boar was that nobody ultimately made it out. And I'm a fan for those kinds of endings, because the situation that you created is one that we really enjoy watching, which is that just pure hopelessness. I mean, they're struggling, but the situation is such that, 99% of your brain's going, this is it, man.
Well,
it's bleak.
Yeah. It did. The script wasn't like that. The script had a final girl. I had Augie, her character Lamb, fighting the hunter. I don't know. So probably there's some spoilers in all this, so I hope people will watch it before they listen to this, or go back and watch it anyway. Then you'll know what I'm talking about. But I had her fighting the hunter and defeating it, kind of in a classic accidentally heroic way. And I just, by the time we got to that scene or that day to shoot, I thought, I just can't see her fighting this big giant pig man to any effect at all. I don't see how she could possibly. It just feels, it feels hokey and ridiculous. If this were the real situation, if this were happening, if this was, we're turning the tables here on society. We're making this basically the prey, the hunters, and the hunters the prey. So in this case, the pig man is the hunter, and she's the prey. And if it was reversed, then the hunter would be a human, and he would never give up until he killed that pig and took him home.
Right.
And I thought, why if I'm going to stay true to the nature of things, so I don't even think that the pigs are good and bad. They are good and they're bad, but they're just trying to survive the way we do, with basically our own senses of morals. And with that in mind, he would not stop until he got his prize.
Okay. Well, yeah, because it's just a perspective shift.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's if you had done it from the view of the pig, as it's being hunted, it would come across more as a documentary on, how we deal with animals.
Yeah.
For farming and stuff. Wouldn't have been nearly as thrilling.
Well, it's a statement. This is what we do. And if this is what it would be like if it was the opposite.
Right.
If the tables were turned. And are you okay with that? Are people okay with that? I'm not saying people should go out and be vegetarians. There's one woman who came to me after a screening and said, "Thank you, I'm now a vegetarian. I'm never eating meat again." And I'm not a vegetarian, but my eyes are open at the same time. I'm not trying to fool myself about what is how the food we eat, how it's treated. Mm-hmm. So I try to make better choices. As far as getting open range chicken as opposed to just cage free or in cages,
right?
But I'm still going to eat chicken.
Well, yeah,
and I think and we can all take a look at what options are available. It's I know there are circumstances where there aren't many. So you got to go with what you've got. But, given an opportunity, I mean, we try to, up until, this year, obviously, things like farmers markets and, going and getting, homegrown fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
And
supporting local farms.
Yeah. And when I lived in Arizona, I made it a point to go to a lot of the ranchers there, be it a Buffalo Ranch or a Standard Ranch, had little roadside stands that they sold their. I mean, that was how they made their income. They didn't invest in a retail space, and they didn't do this whole big thing because they didn't have the volume for it.
Yeah.
But if I could, I would.
Where did you live in Arizona?
I lived at first just outside of Cottonwood, and then I moved up to Flagstaff.
Oh, a friend of mine grew up on a buffalo farm outside Flagstaff.
Yeah, I bet I know exactly where it is. Just a little bit north. As you're going around the mountains. But yeah, it tastes better, and you feel better knowing that it's falling more in line with the natural way of things.
Sure.
I've become a big fan of the TV show. So the series is on Disney Plus now. Life Below Zero, about people living basically wild in Alaska. And, I love it because it's so pure and so natural. I mean, it is. You hunt, and one day you're going to come home with something. The next day you may not, but you just got to keep going. And, when they do get like a caribou, that's it for a while. Like, this will do me, unless they have a family, like, well, I need another one. And then we've got enough meat to last us all the long winter, in addition to the other little things they'll get, like, sometimes lynx, a lot of beaver going on. But anyway, the perspective in the movie was I think two things for me. One was, okay, that whole humans now the hunted, and how do you perceive this? Are they bad, or are they just doing their thing? Do you see yourself in the pig population? But also the whole we loved the beginning with the little almost like watching like a 50s science school science
stop
film.
Motion?
Yeah, the stop motion.
Yeah.
And just the whole concept of I was looking at thinking, what in the world could these people be doing with these pigs? I mean, what's the draw? And there's no like explanation. There's no narration, no cue cards or anything giving us a sign. It's just, well, whatever they're doing comes to an abrupt end because of the mushroom cloud. So,
well, I had an explanation in there initially where Roger Foster talks about how they used to, the whole area was nuclear testing ground back in the 40s, 50s, and they used to use pigs as guinea pigs, use them as like tests because they're very similar in DNA to humans.
Right.
So they would want to put pigs out there to see what the effect of these nuclear blasts at certain distances would be. And that's how the pigs got out there and how they ultimately, mutated into what they are in the film. But I realized that it's like I'm kind of showing people this in the beginning, and I don't want to spell it out and explain it too much beyond that. So I cut a lot of that dialogue from that character.
Well, it worked.
It does. So, cool. Speaking of Roger Foster, I was just kind of fascinated because this was one of the first movies that includes the sort of niche hobby of geocaching, and I was kind of curious. Are you a geocaching hobbyist?
I'm not, but when I found out about it around the time I started writing this, and I thought, what a great thing to bring people into the middle of nowhere that hasn't, to my knowledge, been used before.
Right.
I don't think it has.
I haven't seen it, and we've seen a lot of stuff.
My worry was that nobody would know what it is, but apparently quite a few people have heard of it, and it's enough, and it sells it enough. It's like, oh, they're going to look for something,
right?
And there's all kinds of ways it could have gone. I could have had like a well walled up or secured area, and I thought, I don't want to get into that, all of that. How did they get in there and stuff? They just do. It's a little bit of a mystery land. That's a little bit, you have to stumble into it. And let's just have it at that.
Okay. I want to go back to changing the ending.
Yeah.
Because now you said on the day of that shoot, it occurred to you that this doesn't fit. The blocks don't stack correctly. And I find that fascinating because we've talked to a few people who, I mean, generally an indie film budget does not allow for, that kind of change, especially like on shooting day. You're there to shoot, everything's set up, you've spent the money to get everything where you need it. To swap that for something else, I know there's a few people who it would have crippled them because, they're already operating at a deficit. And I was just, when you realized it and you're like, okay, I'm going to change it. What were you feeling inside? Was it a struggle, or was it like, no, this just has to happen?
Well, the whole film was that way. The whole film, I had a script. I did some storyboards of certain scenes, including that one. I did, I laid out a pretty good plan, and then thought, as time went on, it became really clear that the plan had to be thrown out. And improvisation had to become a part of this, which is what I really, really like. And I like working with my actors that way as well. I wrote out very clear, specific dialogue. And I like to put in the ums and the ands and the spaces and pauses. And I like all that stuff. And then I get there and say, all right, guys, I just, more than anything, this just has to feel like a natural conversation of whatever intensity. So don't worry about the words. If you know the words, you know the gist of this scene enough, you can deliver it. But I don't want you to get hung up on things. I should have said this instead of that. And that sort of permeated through the whole production. We had to improvise everything we came in to rehearse, not even rehearse, just kind of set up and basically get the idea of angles and how we wanted to do our first day of shooting, which was an interior. And I kept thinking, I don't need a ceiling on any of this. I'm going to shoot lower. I'm going to shoot, from up down. I'm going to shoot down, and I'm going to keep the ceiling out of it so we can have our lights up there and almost stage-like.
Okay.
And then we went in and started thinking, this needs to be shot at this angle. I need to look up at him, and I don't have a fucking ceiling. I need a ceiling. This is like days before we start shooting. It's like, I need a ceiling in this damn room. And so, the production designer / set builder / makeup effects department head / everything, Nick Reisinger. I said, Nick, I'm sorry, I need a ceiling. And that afternoon, boom, here's a ceiling. We put this wicker thing up there, and it was awesome. So the entirety of the shoot had to be somewhat improvisational, and that created the atmosphere for allowing those changes to come as they did. And I thought you just had to trust it. Okay, it's going to be all right. I mean, you talk about tangents and rants. I mean, there was a day where we shot out at these mud pots, and these mud pots were a mile from any kind of paved road onto this dirt road that was sandy. And one of our fearless crew, I should say, decided to take a little bit of a variance on the less traveled road instead of the more traveled road. And all of a sudden he buried the truck in sand, and the entire crew had to shut everything down to go over and try and get this truck out of the sand, except for me and the DP. And I'm like, you know what? You and me, babe, I'm here. I'm in costume. Let's go over there and shoot something. And that's, that's become an important scene of Foster, and he's down and he sees the creatures come up to him and recapture him, I should say.
Nice.
Oh, so that's you.
That's me laying there on the ground, and the pig men coming up, and we had one of them who came up. Actually, it was me and the DP. So the DP was doing POV stuff of the pigs. And then one of the guys got freed up, and he came back from trying to get the truck unburied. And we said, put on this costume. And he stepped up. And then we got shots of the other pig with the horns on a completely different location, different day.
Okay. Where was that portion shot?
The exterior stuff was primarily shot out at the Salton Sea, which was a man-made lake, partially man, partially nature-made lake, a little southeast of Palm Springs.
Okay.
And it was made to be sort of an oasis in the desert and a tourist attraction and a resort back in the 50s and 60s, and it just dived. It just took a dump. It didn't ever turn into what they wanted it to turn into. And the salt content of the lake is so great because a lot of the lake evaporated. Mm-hmm. The salt content became so great, it kills everything, fish and birds and everything. There's just bones scattered across the beaches all over there of things that just can't live in it. and the townships that were sort of created around that Salton Sea. And it's probably 20 miles long or something. It's huge. It'd take over an hour to drive around it, probably an hour and a half to drive around the whole thing.
Okay.
But all these townships became just deserted, dilapidated, crusty, old, rotting places. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle, there'd be some places, someone who still lives there and mows their lawn. But it's weird and creepy, and it smells bad, and it was hot. And so there's Salton Sea, and then adjacent to the Salton Sea is the what was the name of the I want to say Yucca Mountains, and that's not right. There's canyons. Anyway, there's these canyons back there, and it's called Painted Canyons, and there's a name for the area. So we use these big cracks through these hills as part of it. We had to hike back about a mile and a half into these canyons to shoot.
I bet it was fun getting all your equipment in there.
Well, it was. I'll tell you why it was fun. Because we went out there, we did a tech scout. We did this in pieces. We shot this 3 days in my studio with interior stuff, and then in the hunter's house, and we shot all the hunter stuff out, interior, and then we went out to the location Salton Sea for 8 or 9 days, and then we came back and we tore down the hunter's interior and we built the butcher's interior. So months later, we picked up again. And that's why, again, how we're just kind of improvisationally making this movie. But we went out and we did a tech scout a couple weeks before shooting started out at the Salton Sea. And we got a pretty good idea of the places we wanted to shoot things. And then we came back and we got all this pre-production done. And there was a storm that happened the weekend before we went out to the Salton Sea. And we wanted to start shooting out in the canyon, so we. God, it's so layered. I'm gonna vary a little bit off course here, but the DP and the producer Gregory and I. DP is Andre Welsh, who was amazing, and he and Gregory and I stayed in a Airbnb in a town nearby. And then everybody else was out at this place called Glamis Hot Springs. It's a little bit of a kind of a, I don't know, like a redneck resort out there for riding ATVs rather, and having fun in the desert. So everybody else is at the Glamis Hot Springs, and they're an hour away from where we're staying. So we get up at 3:30 in the morning, leave by 4:30. Get out to pick everybody up at Glamis Hot Springs, and at 5:30, they're all getting, we're going to wake them up, get them ready, pile into this RV, drive an hour back the other way to get to these canyons. And our first day, we're driving up there and we find out, oh, by the way, the road's closed because the storm washed the road away.
Oh, man.
So now we cannot take our RV out to, fortunately we had 2 4x4s, so we would download everything we needed in any given moment from the RV, pile into the 4x4s, and literally just 4-wheel drive out through the desert into those canyons, which was about, 2 or 3 miles back into the canyon to drive.
Okay.
And then we would unpack there and walk about a mile and a half back into the canyon from there. And it was 112-degree heat, and people were in pig costumes, and it was just absurd. And I look back and think, why did anyone follow me into this? I don't know. But it was just every single day was a challenge of some kind or other, and it was fantastic. We just had to keep moving and think, what can we do? How can we get past this? And
right.
Okay, somebody had an idea. Everyone's all right, let's do it.
Well, those are the situations you can go for broke. When you're put up against something, and that's kind of the thing I like about indie filmmaking is, a studio. I mean, things always go wrong. Something always is not 100% in any production. But there's a difference between having 250 people on a lot who are there to grapple almost anything and make things happen as compared to a handful of people, including the actors, and trying to come up with stuff. Just that, it's ballsy. You have to be, someone comes up with an idea, like you said, all right, let's do it. It's going to work or it's not. And then we have to go with whatever happens. If it works, great. If it doesn't, next step. Next ridiculous idea.
Yeah, exactly.
It's adventuring.
And you said something about not having the budget to make changes. I kind of disagree. I think if you're David Fincher and you're going to do 75 takes of someone walking up to a door, then you got to have the budget for that to get it right.
Right.
And if you're not that, then you have to have the willingness to change and improvise on a moment's notice, and just sort of and do the best you can.
Right. Well, yeah, we've had a few examples of, it's not how that shot was supposed to be. That's not what we planned on. But the cool thing is, you and so many others just make it work. I mean, we're watching this movie and it just seemed also effortless. I mean, our big questions came to like were the houses and
the like pig shanty town.
Yeah. That was our big thing. It was like, oh man, did they like muck up a bunch of stuff? Or, did they find a place and was it guerrilla shooting or did they have to get permission?
Everything exterior out there exists. The only thing we did is I had some VFX guys take away some graffiti because I didn't want any graffiti in that world.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So there's a lot of graffiti on walls and things, but everything out there it exists. We erased graffiti in post, and at the time we brought a bunch of like just sheets and old clothes and things and certain amount of dirt and glue and stuff to just hang in the windows so that we could not see into those areas. So we used those exteriors, and then we used the basic exterior as a facade for the interiors.
Okay,
if that makes sense. So we built the door of the butcher's house, and just that front couple doors. Butcher's house. We built that in my studio, and then redesigned the inside the way we wanted it. They didn't have to match up inside.
Okay. One question, because this comes up a lot. As far as
just one,
just the one.
Just this one is an important one that has like pierced all levels of filmmaking, and it's the production management. Now, I'm just before I put it out there, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you had your head around this before you walked out onto the field, so to speak. And I guess the big question is, did you have this all set? Like you had your shooting schedules, you had, in your head and on paper, you had a plan. Or did you have someone do that for you? I mean, was there a production manager who worked with you to get that all set up?
I mean, Gregory and I got together and we said, okay, what can we do and how can we do it? And we've worked out shooting schedule and a shot list as best we could. But it also I didn't have a production coordinator per se. So and all had to be done in chunks. So we said, okay, well, we want to get this done. We want to shoot. Here are the scenes we want to shoot today, or in this coming chunk of time, and how do we get that done? So, we had a plan, and it had to be a loose plan.
Okay,
because we just didn't know what to expect half the time, and how we would have to sort of deviate from that plan. But it's like learning lines. It's like with the actors, I had them learn the lines. And said, don't worry about the lines.
Okay.
But if they didn't learn the lines to begin with, we could never have had them not worry about them.
Right.
So we had a plan, And then we had to throw out the plan as needed and come back to it when we could.
That's fair. We've talked to a few people who have, got everything together, got all the equipment. They're like, okay, we're going to do this. They storm out there. And most recently, David and Liam, who are happy to say, we thought we were doing good because we'd spend an entire day shooting one scene. And then we'd get to a point where I don't know what's going on. And then David's girlfriend shows up one day and says, all right, look, idiots, this is what we're going to do. He's like, next thing you know, we're doing 3 and 4 scenes a day. And she's, this much time for this. It's just, I think even the most experienced people sometimes in a situation like this get gung ho and like charge forth without, a solid plan or even like a hint of a plan and end up running against,
You want to jump into the fun stuff. You want to jump into the game. You don't want to sit there and learn the game and read the rules.
Right.
You want to just start playing. But you're going to have a much better time playing the game if you do first take the time to understand the rules and then throw out the rules.
Right. You have to know the rules well enough to know how you can bend them and break them.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great scene in Waiting for Guffman with Bob Balaban and Christopher Guest. And Bob Balaban, I don't know if you know the movie Waiting for Guffman, but it's a hilarious sort of mockumentary about a small town theater group trying to put on a show that tells the history of the town.
Right.
I don't remember exactly the details, but Christopher Guest, who's the director named Corky, he's talking to Bob Balaban, saying who's the musical sort of coordinator, supervisor, and he's playing the piano. And Bob Balaban saying, this doesn't really work. This isn't how you're supposed to rehearse and learn the parts. And Christopher Guest says something like, "Well, yeah, but if you learn it and then you sort of throw it out, right? That's just how people do it. You learn the rules and then you throw it out. Well, I'm saying let's skip the learning and just throw it out. Isn't that the same thing?" And
it's nope.
Clearly not the same thing. But anyway, I don't know, going off on some other tangent.
So tangents are good.
Yeah.
I mean, well, even like the smallest of projects has tangents from like every step of the way. Creatively,
we need more tangents.
I love tangents as long as they don't. At some point that tangent has to have a small tangent to kind of steer you back in the general direction of the original starting point. Because, we've all seen some things out there where you sit down after the credits, the adventure starts, and by the end you're like, I don't even know, where are the 3 main characters? At what point did they disappear? I forgot. That brings up a question we had thought about. In Wild Boar, when the action starts, the kill rate was
super high.
Yeah, was surprisingly fast and high.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like if you're if you're a hunter and you go out there as a flock of whatever you're hunting for, you're not just going to kill one and then say, "Ah, got it. That's enough." That's not human nature. Human nature is how many of these guys can we bag?
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I just wanted to use that same sort of mentality. From the hunter's point of view, they're trying to feed their people.
Right. It was just funny because it was unexpected.
Well, it was unexpected in a good way.
Yeah.
You're sitting there reeling, going, "Oh my God, half the cast is gone." Suddenly.
Yeah, like you said, there was and he's gone, and no, wait, he's gone too. And, oh my God, half of them are dead. That it played really well, and well, yeah, because it was that whole, it gets the audience adrenaline going. We're watching it, we're like, ooh, wow, now what's going to happen? And I like that it wasn't formulaic with the progressive picking one off at a time creatively until we whittled down to the last maybe between 5 and 10 minutes for the final face off. Um,
I think it also creates the feeling like nobody's safe here. You know,
right.
you're not a plot point. You're you're just the prey. You're just your dinner tonight at best.
Yes. Well, and that kind of fed into that whole uh, urgency of the situation. Like, in real quick, real short order. Whoa, you have absolutely zero control over what's going on here. And the fact that it happened like this in this quick of time sort of cemented you are far from any real hope. You are outside of your rules.
Creates the unexpected. You don't know where this is going to go now, since you just lost pretty much everybody. Okay, we're going to follow our one person, and doesn't that kind of foreshadow the ending as well? It's just not the cliche. It's not what you expect. It's not happy. It's probably, if you were to get into something as far-fetched and fantastical as this, it's still kind of more reality based.
Mm-hmm.
I like to kind of create a fantastic world and then ground it in reality in a way.
Yeah.
And it works really well. Because I liked that. Well, in doing that, afforded you the time after that. So the next few beats, we had not exposition, but settling into the reality of the environment. Right? We didn't have, at first the disembodied voice talking to her. It was just real quick, simple stuff. We didn't get into a diatribe of, they're doing this because, and we're here because, and this all came out because. It was just, your cell phone wouldn't work, so don't look for it. Some practical stuff. And then his short little bit on, the prize pig lives well, respectively, until that day. I think it was nice to get settled into that, because we were able to just sort of rest into, okay, hasn't been spoon fed to us, but what a terrible situation. Because the visually, and we tried to think, because Danny had heard a term for this type of horror, and we just called it grit horror. I think we settled on
grit. I like it.
It's because, the environment it's so gritty. It's physically uncomfortable to look at. As it was
uncomfortable to shoot in too.
I believe you.
Man,
it's amazing what everybody put up with.
Well, I think people who work on indie films, especially, I mean, they're not doing it like, for the money. If they get money, that's cool. But
we're storytellers, and we want to make things, and we want to pretend it's sort of just an extension of playing dress up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's because we can't imagine doing anything else, that has as much meaning and as much purpose and is as fulfilling.
Yeah. And I know, well, because a lot of times I think of, my favorite movies, like, that have been well publicized, all the shooting situations, like in the big studio films, like Star Wars, in the Tunisian desert. I mean, that wasn't comfortable for anybody. It doesn't matter how big the paycheck was, wearing, basically a wetsuit and then plastic over it to play C-3PO. Anthony Daniels more than once questioned, what the hell am I doing?
Of course.
This is awful. Poor Kenny Baker stuck literally in a trash can, sealed.
Yeah.
Okay, push that lever. All right, now just stay there for the next 10 minutes. Dying. What were some? I mean, were there like notable struggles? Just from just getting from one scene to the next, or getting through a scene. Folks having to deal with and overcome. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, the guys you would expect, Dan Roebuck playing the butcher, and Douglas Tate playing the hunter. I was pretty sure they were going to have some issues along the way, because I was asking them to put on these big kind of body suits that change their physicality, and then the heavy prosthetics, which were sometimes just pull-on masks when we could get away with it. But I knew that being out in that desert without a real comfortable place to be, sharing an RV with a bunch of people, I thought this is going to suck for them. But they never once complained. Never once. The only issues I had, by the way, I'm not vilifying anybody for this. I can't believe everybody kind of went along with this as much as they did. One guy, Nick Reisinger, who I mentioned before, even got stung by like 11 bees, I think, one day. I think he got 11 bee stings. We found a bunch of bees in the place we were shooting. And it's like, oh, no. But there was one time when the actress Jessica, she's supposed to fall into this water. And we got to that point, and she looks and she goes, I'm not getting in there. It's like, what? What do you mean you're not getting in there? She's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, look, there's fish in there. It's a living thing. It's not toxic. So she was hesitant to get into that. I said, look, I'll get in there first if you want me to. And then Gregory finally talked her into doing it. And then once she fell in, she was the most comfortable person on set. She's like, I'm great. I'm cool. I'm comfortable. You guys take all the time you want. And then at the end, there was a part where Augie, playing Lamb, she's supposed to wake up outside this reservoir, and it was mossy. And I know moss is not an issue; it's not a toxic element.
Mm-hmm.
But I have experience with that, moss and nature and stuff. I used to go hiking and motorcycle riding down to Mexico a lot, so but I don't think Augie had much experience, and she looked at this green mossy stuff. She's like, I'm not getting in that. And I tell you, for all the other stuff, all the other shit that I put these people through, for them to have just been a little hesitant because of a couple of water scenarios is kind of amazing. I really feel very grateful that people, she got into this, Augie got in this big vat full of goo.
Right. Yeah.
And didn't complain, But then at the moss, she was like, I don't want to touch the moss. But she did it.
I think, I guess it depends where you're from,
Yeah.
Because I know, and where you are. If you're from certain areas and you have a broad knowledge of things like a reservoir, okay, that it's a term that sometimes is applied to, wastewater.
Right. This is a water that's not coming from a town; it's coming up from the hills.
Right. So I could see where someone, because I've been to those, and you look around, and you're like, from a distance, looks pretty, but standing here, I know what it is.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have shot in that area.
Well, the town that we live in is situated directly on top of 4 lakes, and
nice.
Yeah.
Right, and. You know what? I've lived here for most of my life, and there's no way I'm getting in those lakes. They're freshwater lakes. I know what's in there, though.
Well, it's little diversion here. We live in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And it's funny because there are a lot of the big thing was taking aerial pictures of the city. With the big lakes. Our entire downtown is on an isthmus. And you can see, though, from the 50s through the 60s and 70s, you can see what essentially in the late 50s was when they were doing color shots, still pristine like water.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see up until 15 years, 20 years ago even, it's like, So
what are you saying? We could use regulations and...
maybe a few.
Yeah, maybe a couple.
Yeah, because now, we have such a problem with blue algae and all kinds of other things growing and choking out the lake. For the last 10 years, most of the beaches are closed or they go on a rotating closure, for that kind of thing. And it's.
I'm just thinking maybe rolling back regulations for financial gain is not the smartest thing to do.
No,
I agree with you.
No, in fact, I was just reading. So, the places that you shot this film, there are some places in Utah that could be unavailable to the general public because of some 1920 mineral leasing law. Someone put a bid in for thousands and thousands of acres of land for gas and oil mining.
Wow.
Yeah. Sad. And it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it for what it is. It's an impact on nature, period.
Yeah.
But then it comes down to it's an impact on us for being able to go and enjoy those areas, even seeing them from afar. It's like the Grand Canyon. I don't need to go down to the bottom every single time I go. It's enough to stand on the rim, look out and go, oh, this is good. Monument Valley. Just really need to pull off the main road and just look for miles around and love it. But then it's also going to have an impact that will affect things like filmmaking, whether it's a film or a documentary, using these areas to bring these visuals in a story form to, the general public. It's like with one fell swoop, multiple layers are going to, fall down on that.
I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but since this quarantine happened, nature has noticeably bloomed here in Los Angeles. The skies are clearer and bluer, and you hear more birds out, you see things, and then you got to deal with more spiders and et cetera. But I'm just saying, it's kind of shocking, kind of surprising. It's like you cut down drastically on the amount of emissions that we're putting out and the abuse that we put out on the land and the environment every day, and suddenly it kicks back and goes, hey, this feels good. It's like it's like it had a backache or something, and suddenly someone took nature to the chiropractor.
Yeah.
And nature's been doing great here. So I wish we could, as a people on this planet, and especially as people in this nation, say, oh my God, this is the way things are, closer to the way things are supposed to be. Let's make adjustments and let's preserve things the best we can and not take it for granted.
Well, yeah. I mean, we were commenting the other day how like the grass in our backyard is literally greener than we've ever seen it before.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I mean, Madison's too small to have that noticeable of like an air quality change as LA, because we're like 240,000 people.
But the grass noticed.
The grass did notice.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed much. I can't say I noticed anything different with the birds because we've always, last couple of years we've been here, it's just tons of birds.
We live in a city, in an apartment complex, and the other day a turkey wandered through the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
We're sitting out on the patio, and I look over Danny's shoulder. She's like, what? I'm like, turkey. She turns around like I'm pulling her leg, and there he is, just strutting along. Didn't look nervous, just walking. In fact, he walked around the common area and just checking things out.
Hung out for a couple hours.
Yeah. And I don't know where he left, but it is wonderful. And I can't help but think that, this should be noticed by everybody, especially so like in LA, that noticeable of a change in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Should wake people up to the fact that, we can get a control of this, and it's not going to take generations. We don't have to train our children to equip themselves with the tools to train their children. Right. By the time, so our daughter's going into middle school, by the time she's out of high school, we could reverse a huge portion of what's going on just by a few habit changes.
And also it should
real.
Wake people up that we're not hurting the earth. We're hurting our ability to live on the earth.
Exactly.
And once we're gone, the earth's going to be fine. The earth's going to kick back into gear, and it's going to consume us like we were never here. But so it's really about our survival more over nature's survival.
We're nothing but a future archaeological find for something else as they try to sort out what went wrong with this group. This thing of animals. That's actually like, I don't know, that's subtext to a lot of stories. Could be its own feature That whole, we're not even renting the place. We're not even leasing it. We're here by
No, we're
permission.
squatters.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Kind of a little transition here, but this point in time has been really interesting for filmmaking, seeing as we haven't been able to do any, production for the last couple of months. I know that there is a production in New Zealand that just started, and then it was the first movie to begin production after quarantine.
Yeah, because they don't have a COVID anymore in New Zealand. They got rid of it. They shut it out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Good work.
Well, yeah.
I assume they still have it shut out, but they did it right.
Right. So I think that this whole situation is really going to, it's going to change a lot of things about filmmaking.
Yeah, I think for a while it will change some things, and then people will, so their nature of people, they'll forget about it, and they'll get lazy, and regulations will become lax, and I hate to be a cynical, but I know people well enough and seen people enough to realize there's going to be those people who abide by what they're supposed to abide by, and then there's going to be people who don't, and then there's going to be the people who don't call people when they're not doing it. They don't call them on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not the guy who's not wearing a mask. It's the ADs and production supervisor and people who are not saying, "Hey, you wear your mask or you're out of here." It's the people who allow it, and so there will be some change for a while. But people have short memories, and we're here again after the Spanish flu. That was 100 years ago with the Spanish flu. Now we're here again. Because nobody thought after the Spanish flu let's be prepared. They did. Other people thought prepared. And then, our new administration came in and said, we don't have to be prepared. Eventually people relax and they get sloppy and lazy and they have to learn the lesson over again. And we as a society are clearly doing that.
Right.
Hopefully we're learning that it'll last a while longer.
I always thought it's hard for everyone to accept, sudden change like this. But for an industry like filmmaking, I thought this was a perfect moment to introduce a unique opportunity for change. Cinema has changed every so many years. The way movies are made, the way they're received, the expectations of a film have shifted over the years. And while this one's a little more sudden and extreme, I thought maybe someone or a handful of people are sitting back there right now thinking, okay, so if this is the way it's going to be forever, let's just take it as that, not when it's going to slack off, but if I live like this forever, what would my films look like? And I think it would be an opportunity for some unique movies to be made to change our perspective, which is always dangerous. The truly adventurous are the ones who want to go out there and be like, I'm going to make this movie that there's nothing like it. And, they know they're running the risk. Everyone's just going to run from it because there has been nothing like it. They're like, oh, nope. Can't handle it. Done. Have you given any thought to, like, if you're thinking of future projects, what you might do different to get it done, or you're not gone that way yet?
Well, I'm actually writing something right now that takes place in either this time or a time very much like this time. I don't want to be. I'm writing a thing. I'm not getting into. Hey, we're in the middle of COVID-19 quarantine, but in a world very much like today, that creates the background for something that's more personal and kind of psychotic. And I think that kind of elevates the stakes and the danger of what our characters, our lead characters, are going through, because they're in a bizarre, unpredictable world and having to deal with bizarre and unpredictable things. But aside from that, I mean, I think stories are stories. They're gonna basically still have the same. They say, well, there's only 6 stories or something, and then we keep telling them over and over. And we're just going to keep doing that, and with some different window dressing. And they'll be unique, and they'll be timely, and then one day they will be outdated and archaic, but they can still be good.
I read somewhere, I don't know if it was in either Variety or Hollywood Magazine a little while ago. Someone was talking about a possible leap over this hurdle would be to embrace, and I hated this, embrace CGI more, where, instead of sharing a set, actors it's almost be like doing, AD recording, where they're in their little suit, they're doing their thing, and then, VFX folks would piece them together so that they could not have to worry about being intimate and close and, swapping germs and all that old fashioned stuff is kind of how it made it feel. It actually kind of made my stomach tighten up, thinking, whoa.
I was just going to say, I'm starting to feel physically sick.
Well, it's not like we haven't been doing that already.
Right. And
so, look at this last movie that Harrison Ford did, Into the Wild. Takes place in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Was completely shot here, in L.A., just north of L.A. in Santa Clarita. They built a river section so that they had some outdoor stuff, and most of the rest of it was done on a green screen with guys in suits playing dogs. That's not my style of film. I've done a little bit of that. And, part of what I like about movie making is being able to play dress up, to go live and experience a world, whether it's based on reality or fantasy, but go live somewhere else and see something that's dressed up just to be telling this story. And I love that. So you go onto a green screen, it robs the participant of that experience.
Right.
So that's not my favorite, but they'll still use it, and they'll find other ways to not use it.
Well, when we interviewed Eric for Tombstone Rashomon, his
Alex?
whole. I'm sorry,
Alex.
Oh, we did interview Alex, but we also interviewed Eric.
Yeah, Eric, who played Doc Holliday.
Doc. Right.
Yeah. I loved what his view of acting is. It's part of the storytelling process. And we had talked a little bit about not being able to engage with another actor, physically on set. And he, and I think a lot of people would agree with him, but one of the key things of acting is to, if the scene is having a conversation with someone, the actor needs that someone there to feed off of, to, genuinely feed off of. And he said more than once, he's had in his head, this is how I'm going to deliver the line. But then all of a sudden, when they say action, this other actor delivered, a line to me that I wasn't expecting, the emotion and everything. So I had to quickly adapt and, respond accordingly. And yeah, I think, putting people in booths miles apart and, trying to piece them together. I don't know. I think part of storytelling is the investment of being in that moment. And the more you take away physically, the harder it is to be in that moment. That's why I like indie films is, the money's not there to do these giant Marvel-esque green screen universes. You got to find a place that looks cool, that fits the bill, that you can get in and out of, hopefully. And it just, it makes it more visceral to the eyes.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly a good argument for that. I kind of equally adore something like The Wizard of Oz, where everything was a stage, and that created this completely fantasy world. And does it look real? Not necessarily. It's very stagey, and I think that in itself kind of creates its own world.
Oh yeah,
as long as you're true to that.
But it's real. That's the thing. Is the interactions between people. So like on the set of The Wizard of Oz, their interaction with the environment, even in a film that old, will look more natural than any of the CGI interactions that I've seen today. And granted, we've come a long way from Roger Rabbit, where they were guessing.
They
where
did a great
things were
job
gonna
in
be.
Roger Rabbit.
Well, they did. But that's one of our things, is we've talked about CGI a lot, is how it robs really from everything. I look at the prequels of Star Wars, and instead of building sets, they just were literally walking along a 2x4 in a giant green screen room. And, sometimes they just go nuts. It's like they don't have boundaries. And, you look at it and you're like, this doesn't even look, it just doesn't look real. It looks so manufactured. Whereas you look at something like Wizard of Oz, you can see where the real bricks end and the mat, begins, but you don't care because it has a look and a feel that it's real. And I don't know, the more reality in a studio, on a stage, in a setting, period, I think feeds the worth of a film for the audience.
I agree, and I mean that's what I love about making movies, and I try to remain open to every story is going to be different and be approached differently, and hopefully they make choices that support it and don't become distracting.
All right, so I have a question that kind of pivots a little bit.
Sweet.
So your background is in special effects and makeup and stuff like that. So when you were doing this production for Wild Boar, I know that you had a director of that department. How involved were you in that department versus doing
I lost you for just a moment. I heard you. Can you start that over? I'm sorry.
Sure. So you have a background in special effects and makeup, right? Obviously.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like special effects has already got a job. They're making wind and rain and bullet hits and things. So, but makeup effects, yeah.
Yeah. So, and so you for this production, you had a makeup department, right? Presumably.
Correct.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, how involved were you in that department for this production, and how much did you kind of like leave them to their devices, while you were doing the directing and producing and all the other stuff?
Well, lead them, yes. I think that's a good word for it, because I designed the characters, and I did a lot of the sculpting for the pig characters, especially the main couple. But then the first day on set, Doug Tate was getting made up as the hunter. And I went in the makeup room and I started seeing how they were doing it. And, everybody's got their own sort of flow and technique. And I started saying, well, here's what I think you should do. And then, like in a minute, I thought, are you there?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I have this weird thing, this Bluetooth thing he's wanting to grab on. So I'm going to see if I can get rid of it right now so it doesn't happen anymore. And that, disconnect. There we go. Okay, should not have a problem anymore. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, nothing goes 100%.
That's what I'm talking about. You have to be just ready to veer off a little bit and then come back to it.
So, last we heard you, so you were talking about leading, and you did you designed and you did the sculpting.
Right. And you said, this is how I would do it. And then we kind of lost you.
And then, yeah.
Oh, that's great. The perfect cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Because right at that moment, I realized if I go down this road and I start obsessing over how the makeups are done and how they look, I can't do the rest of this job. That's going to be detrimental to me telling the story and directing everything else. Mm. So I just trusted that the guys who obviously knew what they were doing, knew what they were doing. And they did a fantastic job, I thought.
Well, they did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. After making that choice, did you have those pangs of, should I get in there? did you have to like fight it? Cause I mean, this is, essentially your world.
There were moments. There were moments where I saw something and thought, okay, come on, let's fix this. But to be honest, they're few and far between. It ended up not being a whole lot of an issue. There were a couple shots where I had CG guys come in and say, "Hey, can you clean this up? This is a problem." And it wasn't even always the pigs. It was just something where it's like, there was a moment where I was wearing a wig and this wig kind of flapped up and you saw the under part of the wig, and we had to fix that. And we had to, just some little things that I thought the shot is there. I didn't have the time and money to perfect shots all the time. Mm-hmm. So I said, oh shit, we got to move on. And we fixed a few things in post, and it really I have a newfound appreciation for the things that CG can do. The visual effects guys can come in and fix and clean up.
Right.
And
that's kind of
when
go ahead.
When Sable and Lamb kind of come in and out of the hunter's lair, that was all shot day for night. And we had to fix all the daylight stuff and make it night.
Yes.
So they did an excellent job with that.
And that's kind of what we've always thought CGI should have, found its home and kind of stayed there rather than becoming the world.
It should support the world rather than replace it.
Right. And then I think the only step outside that boundary should be it's there to do what physics prohibits. In terms of, you want a certain structure or some kind of thing.
Sure.
And there's just things you can't do no matter how good of a set builder you are, no matter how big of a visionary you are. Sometimes it just can't be done. But yeah, fixing the little things, that is, masterful. And that I think is, it should be part of the process.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a big deal. Now, I want to talk about makeup effects and just curious what drove you to that. Because I, as a kid, was just endlessly fascinated with what they could do with prosthetics, especially back in the 70s, when I was growing up. I'm looking at, mentioned it before, magazines like Fangoria and SFX and, Hollywood Makeup, all this stuff would come out, mostly centered around horror movies, but they finally branched out. Just the effects of aliens and not just gore and stuff. I was thrilled with all that. But for, a few dominoes falling the other way, if I could have made my way to California, that's what I probably would have been doing for a long time.
Cool.
If not the same at breaking into writing. What was your funnel into that world?
I grew up around it.
Oh.
Yeah, my dad and my uncle and a couple of my uncles actually, and my dad's dad, all were part of that world from years prior.
That makes it kind of easy then.
Yeah, it was,
to look at and go, ooh.
It was an easy decision to go in that direction. Wasn't always easy for me.
Right. Well, the biggest handicap for me is I'm not a physical artist. So like when you're talking just a little bit ago, talking about you did the sculpting, that to me is, that's a worshipable event. I drop to my knees in front to people who can do that. Cause if you give me some clay, I will give you back an uglier piece of clay. I cannot sculpt. I cannot draw. I tried painting, I have always written, and it's very clear that's all I was ever meant to sit in terms of creating with my fingers. Cause I don't know how good my makeup effects would be if I had to go off a sculpture or something that I made. It would just be terrible.
it's not, stuff isn't created in a vacuum. It's not just one guy in a room doing nothing, doing stuff. It can be, but generally speaking, you got a crew of people, or at least a team of people. And, then you also have to please producers and directors and such. So, it's, I've known people who were not necessarily great artists who could put together great teams and produce great work.
Okay. Well, that goes back with what you did with your makeup department, because that's kind of a managing theory that I've always held to, is a good manager trusts their people to do their job.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, then you got to look at two things. One, were you bad at management in hiring them? Why would you hire someone you wouldn't ultimately trust? Or, two, is there something I'm not making clear for the end goal?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So this is a question we kind of always ask, but what advice would you give people who want to, break into filmmaking, like people who are just kind of starting?
Or sitting on the fence and listen to our podcast for those moments of inspiration when we talk to folks like you. What would you have for them?
I would say, why are you sitting on the fence? Why aren't you making movies?
I like it.
I mean, what more? How much more does technology have to evolve before people finally say, yeah, I guess I could do this now? I mean, you have in your hand, very likely you have everything you need to make the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you're just not doing it. It's like someone said, I don't know, some posted or whatever, with the quarantine. If during this time you still aren't doing the thing you want to do, then it's not an availability problem. It's a discipline problem. You don't have the discipline to just do it, and discipline sounds harsh. Sometimes that comes down to just belief in oneself.
Right.
I didn't make a movie until I did, partly because I just didn't quite believe in myself enough to think I could. So anyway, a friend of mine asked me this recently. He said, my son wants to make movies. And I said, great. Why isn't he making movies? He's got a camera in his hand, doesn't he? So you can start making things. Make a 1-minute movie, then make a 5-minute movie. It doesn't have to be great or the best thing ever. It just has to be something that takes you to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing ceramics. I got myself a pottery wheel. I haven't done ceramics really since I was, probably in junior high school. And part of me is like, can I do ceramics? I mean, I'm sure I can, but will they be any good? It's like, I don't know. Let's just try. So I started making some things, some sculptural and some kind of on the wheel. And, they're just are what they are. I'm not trying to judge them. I may not be thoroughly happy with what they are. They're not the greatest ceramics I've ever seen. It doesn't matter. It's just something I'm doing. And if I felt like getting better at doing ceramics, I'm experiencing what it's like, and I can get better.
Yeah,
I like it. And
there's also plenty of stuff on YouTube and
yes.
The internet, places to go to get lessons. And
we have tried pointing that out in so many episodes of doing this. Is the only purpose of a creator is to create. When you start attaching, well, it needs to be a festival award winner, it needs to be worthy of this, then you're actually crippling yourself and surrounding yourself with reasons why not to do it or why to put it off. Just create. Like you said, that this one is going to lead you to the next one. It's going to lead you to the next one.
Yeah.
Like an iPhone does have everything. It can record video, it can record sound, you can edit both and piece it together. And like you said, technology, how much more do you need? For the first time in history, these last 10 years, availability to audiences and post your creations, and get them out there without a distributor, without a movie theater.
Right.
It's unprecedented,
Absolutely.
So yeah, folks, do your things. That's what we've been telling you. Make it. Just make it. Now, there are some limitations. Like we wanted to do a short this summer, but with everything going on, we'll have to wait because we don't want to put two people 3 feet apart for hours. And I don't know how many would be eager to.
So what? Maybe do a different short.
Oh, we are. Yep. We've got one next Saturday. It's actually shooting day because I've got my shot list all broken down, and it's going to be goofy, and it's just fun. And honestly, I don't care what anybody thinks about it. We're going to have fun doing it.
Good.
Even though all we ever wanted to do was just write.
Well, and it was also, here's a secret, Barney. I talked him into doing this other short, mostly because I just wanted to own the costume for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know what the motivating factor is going to be. I got into doing makeup effects and wanted to run my own shows because I believed I could, and I wanted to prove that I could do it. It wasn't like I was driven to make a movie. I couldn't not make a movie. But as far as doing makeup, I just wanted to be taken seriously and do the things I thought were fun and wanted to prove that I could do it. I wasn't, some people have a passion for a thing, and I understand that. But for me in makeup, it was just me saying, oh yeah, well, watch this. That's it. And then I fell in love with doing it.
Yeah.
But the motivating factor was just, you don't think I can do it? Watch me.
Well, and motivating factors can daisy chain and affect more. So like, okay, Danny wanted this costume.
Yeah.
And said, okay, so if I get this costume, then we can do this thing. And I said yes. And that motivated me to say, okay, I said yes to this. Now I got to write a script.
Well, we wrote it.
Yeah. And,
good, Danny. Good
yeah.
for you.
Yep. And then
Don't let him get away with that shit.
Hell no.
We did so the shot list and everything, and got to make props this week. So it motivates me because I think she knows I'm a tight ass. So if I spend $1, I'm going to get $1.50 worth out of it. So we bought this costume. I'm going to get every bit of that back.
That's great.
Which it is. It's fun. It's going to be fun. And it's a way for me to learn more about editing and stuff that we're going to do. And,
I've been learning editing on Premiere Pro and really liking it. And they got a lot of great tutorials.
That's the other thing I wanted to touch on is not only is it, unprecedented technology, accessible to everyone, it's with YouTube, you don't need to sign up for a class for just about anything. There are so many generous people out there who take the time to record a 30-minute video and spend the week or 2 weeks, plopping it together just to share what they know.
You mentioned being a tight ass and knowing the value of money, which is always a good thing. But I would also say, how much is this dress?
Mm-hmm.
How much is the dress that you guys bought?
Oh, it's a costume. It was
costume.
$100, roughly.
Okay, so here's my question: are you going to miss that $100? Or are you going to miss not having the dress or the costume, right? Well, you know what I mean? So when you come to a thing, it's like, what's the value of a thing? It's what are you willing to spend on? It's the experience of having that costume is going to be so much greater than the $100.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's
that's
how
just
I think
it.
about things. What am I gonna do? Am I gonna save this $100 and have another dinner out someday, or am I going to have an experience and enjoy this other thing that's a greater value?
Right.
That's all.
And that's kind of how we operate. And we have so much stuff. If you hop onto our YouTube channel and watch a couple of our latest episodes, the little short bits, you can see we're surrounded by toys.
Okay.
And we love this kind of stuff. And I will say this costume that Danny wanted is significantly less than even one of our pirate costumes that we've put together for Ren Fair. You know, and it's that kind of thing. From a money standpoint, I look at it, I'm like, so $1,300 for clothing, huh? But you know what? It's worth it because that one, maybe 2 times we get to go in the summer.
Yeah.
It pays off. That's worth it.
Because it's not the costume you're buying, it's the experience of it.
Right.
He has no idea how often I'm going to wear this costume and all the places I'm going to wear it to.
Now I want to see it.
He doesn't know what he's got himself into.
We'll send you a shot.
All right.
We'll send you a production still.
Very curious.
Oh man. Lastly, so
Yeah.
you said you're working on something. I don't want to dive into it, but is there any great project in your head that you want to jump onto? I mean, what's next for Barney? Is it moving into another film? Do you have some a big makeup effects project waiting for you? What's going to be happening as time rolls on here in the short term?
Well, I started talking to somebody about something I can't talk about.
Okay.
Cool.
That's fair.
And then there's, which would be freaking incredible and inspirational. That's the thing. I just want to really be inspired. I have some, this one piece that I'm writing, I told you about a little briefly. And then I got some other things I just finished, some screenplays that I would love to get going. And I don't really want to be specific about what they are because I'm generally not a superstitious guy, but I have spoken about things in the past and then they don't happen. And then I just feel dumb. I feel foolish. Right?
That's
It's
fair.
I don't think I jinxed it per se, but until something has happened, I just don't think it's really worth talking about as a concept.
Right. But in summary, you
got stuff in the works.
Yeah, you have a path
Absolutely.
paved. Okay,
Absolutely.
good. That's what we like to hear.
Okay, good.
And one day maybe we'll be on your path.
No, maybe.
We saw this pilot. He would do some awesome effects.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because 40% of the cast is not human.
Oh, nice. The way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have taken a fair amount of your time.
Yeah, way too much.
So Wild Boar. Yesterday was the release date, the 12th, correct?
Well, it was out on a film festival on the 12th of the. There's a few film festivals that are showing it this month and or next month. Portland Horror Film Festival, I think, is going to be showing on Wednesday. Okay. There's Sick and Wrong Film Festival. These are traditionally physical film festivals you go to the theater and watch, but they're all online,
right?
Because of quarantine. And I feel terrible. There was another one. There was Toronto Horror Film Festival that was coming up. I'd have to check the dates and see which ones are which.
Okay, we'll reach out to you after this and get a little list so we can time it with the release and make sure people are going.
I know Portland is showing on Wednesday the 17th. Because we're going to do a Q&A after.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there like a general public VOD?
I bet if you Googled Portland Horror Film Festival, I'm sure you'd find the site.
Right. I meant just in general for Wild Boar. Like when is it? Do you have a date to set?
I have not solidified a release date, a distribution deal.
Okay.
As yet.
Everyone, if you haven't seen it or haven't been able to get to it, keep an eye out for it. Because like we said in the episode we did about it, it's wonderful.
It is. It's wonderful and fun and gory and uncomfortable.
Oh, thanks.
Gritty.
Yeah.
You make me blush.
All right, B-Siders. We have been talking with Barney Burman, makeup effects extraordinaire, the master behind Wild Boar, and hopefully many more such things coming out down the road that we will be able to look at, talk about, and enjoy.
Heck yeah.
Thank you, Barney.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Before you hop off, do you have any website, social media, anything you want to plug in the podcast? Where should people go to find out about your stuff?
Well, just find me on Facebook and say hi.
All right.
There we go.
Cool.
Fair enough.
There's a Wild Boar Facebook page. And there's a short film that I'm probably going to release just, I don't know, through Facebook or something called WVZ, and in parentheses, Bush versus the Zombies.
Yes.
So I'm going to release that somehow pretty soon. And that's a short film I shot with a friend of mine. I used to make him up as George Bush, and we used to do corporate events. So I made him up to fight some zombies about 12 years ago, and I just found the footage recently and finished editing it. So I think it's a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, we're going to have to see it.
Yes.
I think that was the link we got.
Yeah, I think you sent us the link for it.
Yeah.
I believe I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to watch it.
Well, we're going to have to do a short film episode anyway.
Oh, yeah.
We might just roll that into it, start off with it.
Well, feel free to give me a call back. I'll put my wife on the phone.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Talking with you. I hope we get to do this again.
Yeah, I agree. It's been really fun. You guys are delightful.
Well, thank you. All right, B-Siders. This is Jim.
This is Danny.
And we'll see you every time. We will talk to you next week.
That was a real privilege, and it was a really good interview. I'm very, very, I've said it before, where I am going to explode.
Yes.
About these interviews.
You have.
And I'm reaching the point of no return. You may have to continue to do this alone.
Well, we'll see what happens, because we have more coming.
I'm going to explode of joy.
It was fantastic. Touched on some really good things, not the least of which, the whole self-doubt. Someone like Barney Burman in Hollywood, grew up with it, lives in it, works in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Masterfully, as makeup effects.
Well, mastered his craft.
Yeah, absolutely.
But always wanted to make a movie.
And to still feel that level of self-doubt, to not believe in yourself. So it's super easy to understand that an average person, because Barney's not an average person, he's like a god.
Well, I think you.
Well, no, because
he's a person. He's just very talented.
Well, he is. Well, that's what makes him like a god. People, Nicotero, all these people behind the camera and outside of the camera, right? Who have these storied careers and massive successes, massive talent. I mean, these are the people in those fields that, they aspire to be.
Yeah.
Right. We have our writers, there's directors, there's producers, there's actors and all this stuff and composers. Everyone, you elevate them to a god status because it's like you overcame these Herculean obstacles, and it's just amazing. But when you think about it, the Herculean obstacle is just believing in yourself and getting it done, getting out there. How many actors don't go to auditions? I wouldn't have gotten it anyway. They scare themselves out of it. How many, like we talked comedy in, or I was listening to Mark Maron talking to Jerry Seinfeld, and they were talking comedy, and we've talked about it, about the whole getting out there.
Right.
That's rough and tough stuff to be a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
But
harsh.
And Jerry Seinfeld is a god in the comedian stand-up comic world.
Oh yeah.
Because seriously, massive success. But if you scare yourself out of walking out there, if you scare yourself away from picking up that camera, shooting a film, if you scare yourself away from making up your friend, so, okay, you're going to be in a car wreck at the end of this hour. That's what we're going for, and just doing it.
Well, yeah, not doing something because you're like, well, I'll never be as good as such and such.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never be as good as that person. Don't try to be that person.
Right. You don't want to be that person.
But, that fear is going to stop you from doing your thing.
It is. And, it sounds simple. Get over it. Get out there and do it. But you can also look at these people, these mammoths in the industry, and realize, well, even with all of that success, all of his mastery, and, on top of his game, doing something slightly different still, it's like that 13-year-old, I don't want to leave middle school. This was bad enough. I don't want to do that, we all feel it. I mean, we did starting out, we're like, I don't know. Let's try it. and
or even just starting this podcast.
Yeah. You just jump into shit. And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
So, not only have these people elevated themselves to godlike levels of examples of success, they're daredevils.
Right.
Get to a point, just do it. Might be shit at the end, but I'm going to get out there and do it. So I think that was probably like the biggest thing. We talked about a lot of stuff.
We went on a couple tangents.
That's always fun.
It was fun.
It was always fun. But yeah, to hear someone and to hear an Oscar winner be afraid of doing something that is, right next to them. I mean, it's a field change, right? It's different doing effects on someone than picking up a camera and helming the ship. But after being around it for so long, that's how Ron Howard got started. He grew up watching people make the TV shows and stuff. He's like asking questions. And one day he's like, I'm going to give it a run. I'm an actor, but I've seen it done enough. I'm going to try it. Boom. God. So take that away, B-siders. Especially now with everything so weird. It's still weird.
Everything is weird, and I don't think it's going to be normal. What was normal for a long time?
I don't either. I think they're going to try and do some things. I think it's going to fall apart because I think they're oversimplifying the complexity of making a film with all these people. That it's so essential to be, face to face up to one another. Never mind the actors having to interact, right? But everything else is, it's a fairly intimate field.
Yeah.
Because there's bodies crammed into wherever they need to be.
It is. And I mean, just normal interactions, let alone, like intimacy interactions.
Yeah.
Right.
That's going to be a hard sell with masks and a hazmat suit. I don't know. I'm all for Romeo and Juliet, getting together and hooking up in the end. We'll change the story, but that isn't what I want to see. Suit love.
No.
That just blew my mind. I forgot what I was saying.
That's okay. It's going to be a challenge for production.
Yeah. Just keep doing it. Write your stuff. You can still get it out there. I mean, that's like the easiest part. I got to say, for the first time, I think writers have the easiest piece in this puzzle.
Well, yeah, because you don't need to be in a room with other writers, even if you're co-writing.
Right.
You don't need to be in the same room.
No. So you can still keep writing. And if you got one done and it's still kind of hard to get it in front of somebody, start another one.
Yeah.
Start that next one. And, everyone else, I want to do a shout out to Blake Ritter, the, short film director from the UK. I've mentioned him a couple times before. He's got another film being voted into a festival.
That's awesome.
And he's starting another one next month.
Way to go, Blake.
And that's what I'm talking. And it's good. I like Blake's stuff.
We need to do a shorts episode.
We
again.
do. One's going to be coming up, and I'm going to see if I can't get a hold of him and see if. Well, I mean, we go back and forth and stuff in social media, but yeah, I would love to like do a.
Barney's got a short, and David's got a shorts, and
Yeah, I would like to do some roundtables.
I would love to
with kind of like a 101, and get Eric in on it.
Yeah,
because that's Eric's game. Motivate. So stay motivated, folks. Get out there and do your stuff. Shoot your films, write your stuff. If you're composing, do it. Worry about the fine tuning way later.
Do it.
And in between all that, the game. www.lordsofmisruleproductions.com. And we got links to all the podcast stuff, social media, Patreon. Do it. Blog, check it out. And more importantly, I've heard a lot of people saying this, and I'm just going to say it. Put the fucking mask on, suck it up, grow up a little bit. Just do it. I mean, Jesus Christ, just do it. It's becoming too much of a thing. There's way more important issues right now to worry about than.
Well, there is. And just
how you look at a mask.
Here's the thing. Not wearing a mask is a statement that you don't give a fuck about anybody else but yourself.
Right. And you'll be treated accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just do it. Just do it. Let's get over with this shit. And then we can put our full focus on the important issues.
Right.
That are going on. That we need serious attention.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that's going to be it for that.
Find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Our links are on our website. Also, if you could please rate and review this podcast wherever it is that you listen to it. They're incredibly important. We're never going to stop asking.
Until they decide we don't need ratings and reviews. So if you have a problem with it, take it up with the platforms.
Well, yeah, there's a whole big discussion that could be had about that, but we won't go into it.
No, we won't.
Also, if you like the podcast and you want to support it, you can find the link to our Patreon page on our website, or you can just go to patreon.com/Bravo for the B-side, all one word. We have one tier of sponsorship. It's not very much. It's like the cost of a Starbucks coffee cup a month.
Yep. And not even a particularly good cup.
And it helps the show. And patrons get access to cool stuff. Like they get input in what movies we cover. And we're hoping that at some point in the near future, we can get some merchandise going.
Yep. Grow it to get
some giveaways.
Some merchandise. We'll be doing, I don't want to call them giveaways. I was thinking about that today. Giveaways. Because a giveaway sounds like, I don't know, just a random thing. A lot of people do it like, hey, we're going to do a giveaway. And that means like 2 or 3 people. Our goal, if we can reach our goals, is to have merchandise, and all patrons will get something as we get things, do things, sample things, kind of thing. So yeah, we're not going to give you coupon codes. We want to give you stuff. So you get, everybody gets 1. If you want 2, then you might have to buy another mug. And then we'll give you a coupon code. But, if we, and you also we'll have input on what to do. We talking mugs, t-shirts, cup holders, coasters, hankies, I don't know.
Shirts.
Hats. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
With that, this wraps up another episode of Bravo for the B-side. We will catch you next week. Until then, I'm Danny.
I'm Jim.
Good night.
Bye, B-siders.